Contrary to popular belief, I don't know how to take eyeliner off well.
This has happened before. I remember you showed up once and it was from something.
Way worse though. I was doing I did a shoot for Cloak, and we did this whole like Dia de la Muerte kind of shoot. And we're not going to do another Troy episode.
I don't have any objections to not just a Troy episode, but a Troy
guyliner episode.
Yeah, Troy's Adventures with Makeup.
Oh man, there's been many misadventures with makeup. Have you ever done drag? Anybody?
I have never. I don't even know that I've ever had makeup on beyond the
powder, the obligatory powder from TV cameras.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the like press interview type makeup. I think that's the only that I've ever.
Mike Bithell?
Hey,
have you?
What's that?
Have you ever done drag?
I've never done drag. No. I don't think I've got the hips for it. But I don't think I'm on any other level right for it.
It's critical.
No, I've never done drag.
It is. I will say this. I firmly believe that there would be less misogyny in the world if everybody did drag once.
Well, I'm sorry.
That shit's
I will try
hard.
and keep my misogyny to a limit. I'm sorry.
I think there'd be a lot. I think that's an interesting sentence structure.
Be in the shoes of someone else, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be a whole lot of X if everybody did Y once.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of countries where it's mandatory that you do 2 years of military service.
Yeah.
I think specifically in the United States, and the anti-capitalist in you, Mike Bithell, is going to just love this.
I'm ready.
It should be required. As a matter of fact, I feel like what we could do is we'd say, hey, we would, just like a lot of countries do, is like, we will pay for your college if you go to the military. Pay for your college if you go work in retail or the food service industry. If we did that.
The reality is that's what a lot of people do anyway, right? In order to make their way through those. Like, that was how I put myself through uni, yeah.
Sure. Most people but there's like this weird, level of people that don't. And I just think that like everybody who goes to a restaurant would be like, yeah, we can wait 15 minutes. No, it's okay, you're busy. It's as opposed to, this was iced tea.
Yeah.
I think I would
easiest
frame
way,
that.
by the way, to ruin a business meeting with me is to be rude to a waiter. I have turned down projects based on people who are rude to waiters.
Is that what happened with us?
That's why we don't work together. Yeah, you were rude to a waiter.
I feel like you don't need to dangle a subsidized college education. I think it's just like you forfeit the right to be an asshole to a waiter if you've never worked as a waiter. Like, you don't need to complicate it. Oh, we've lost
Mike.
I'm still here. I'm just going to go and try and find some headphones so that the poor bastard has to cut the audio on this. Doesn't have to like have your echo and everything. So just give me a second.
Didn't I send you headphones? What? I don't understand.
I
sent care packages.
Me, Troy. I'm going to find some. I'm going to find some. I'll be right back.
Let's talk about him.
I have your mic that I got here. I hooked it up, and I wasn't sure if it was a bad cable or something wrong with the mic, but every time I used it, people would go, "You sound garbled. Something's off." And so
PC or Mac?
It's on a Mac. That's a Hackintosh.
So that's the problem. Is that Elgato is great, not endorsed, but I mean I have a good relationship with them. But I mean, I would say this show is not endorsed. But yeah, I prefer PC to work with stuff. I tried it on a Mac and it just didn't necessarily work great. So I mean, I don't know.
Was it the same thing where it sounded like the signal was busted? Like they kept saying it sounds like the kind of thing when there's a bad cable and there's interference on the line. And I remember thinking that's very odd. But so
Speaking
just
of
know that it wasn't
right.
rejected. I know you felt very disturbed.
I felt rejected.
Yeah.
That's the way I look today.
What's that Liverpool Football Club?
Thank you. You ever just turn a camera on and see your hair? No, you both have like organically perfect hair all the time.
That's the first time anyone has ever said that about my hair.
Austin, I don't imagine you put any time into your hair, and I think it looks that way every day.
I put 0 time into my hair, and I don't think anybody could ever look at Troy's hair and go, "That's just naturally like that. That's just naturally."
I think it's a style.
This
it's
is
a style.
My
but
head is exploding, guys, and I look like
I like it.
if you push a lever down, the hair comes out. This is I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and I feel like I got gussied up last night. That's true. It was a lot of fun. Raised $12,000 for Able Gamers. Not me personally.
Oh yeah, for Koyok.
Yeah, man, it was
I
fun.
still don't know
Kolak.
what it is. Yeah, I've done, it is so impressive. I've only done one episode, and it is such a creative, cool thing.
Yeah, man, and I got to give him a shout out. Ethan, first of all, directed that, and he crushed it. Zach, who's the show creator, is just DMing essentially his ass off, or GMing, I guess, in that sense. Everybody was on there. Was incredible. Finally got to meet Markiplier. I feel like I say his name weird.
Yeah.
Mark.
Markiplier.
I don't know.
He
Mark,
signed
yes.
it by having a weird invented name, so you're fine.
Yeah.
You might Mike Bithell.
Mike Bethel. Austin
always
Wintory.
liked
I pretty
Bethel.
much call everybody by the name that Siri calls them. Austin
Yeah,
Wintory.
mine's Alanah Pearce. She's actually okay.
That's not bad.
It's not too bad.
it's hard
I
to
was
fuck
also
that one
gonna
up.
say though.
Alanah?
Well,
Alanah
a lot of
Pearce.
Americans call me Elena.
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 That'd
I would
be
say, or
Elena.
Alana,
Like
probably
Helena,
more
yeah.
often than Alana. A
Alanah.
long A.
Alana?
Troy, you also were the featured guest of the Keeleys.
Yeah.
You showed up there a bunch of times.
Showed up
I'm
too,
so excited to
twice.
see, and still more than anyone else. I'm really excited to see more of Fort Solis.
Man, me too.
Especially because like you and Roger together, like I love Roger so much. He's just such a good dude.
He is-
I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Under the dictionary, good dude is a picture of Roger.
Yeah. Like just so nice, just
genuinely
like,
nice.
Unbelievably good human. Anyone who doesn't know him, he plays Arthur Morgan in Red Dead 2, but I think he was a theater actor to begin with.
Theater actor.
100%.
Yeah,
Touring.
a theater actor.
Thespian is the only
Yeah.
correct word for those situations.
And like he did all over Europe. So they were doing like Germany and Prague and this traveling roadshow of Shakespearean plays, and he's just one of those quintessential like he's a theater cat through and through, and just cares about the work, as they would say. And he's brilliant.
Remember, you shouted him out.
Bits.
I think it was here on this show. Many episodes ago, you made a comment that I hadn't really thought about before of him recording Red Dead, like an hour at a time, essentially over like a 5-year period. Where it's just so split up, and having to get back to that place and get back to that
and
character.
I remember that anecdote, but ended up talking to him about it, and they also recorded it so out of order in that
of order.
instance.
So think about doing an open world game over 8 years, not 5 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
And you are okay. Remember that thing that we did 6 years ago where we were talking to this person? Well, we've completely rewritten that, and the character's now this, and just like,
You even have a concept of a character arc, and he does have a character arc. He has an arc. Like, how do you even
huge.
Does that mean
map
that,
that?
at that point, I've
The Roger Clark
got
episode.
a little taste working on Stray Gods has given me a little bit of a taste of a mini micro version of that, where we'll record a song over many weeks because there's so much content.
Wow.
And
For one song? Oh, no,
one
I
song.
know how that works.
yeah,
Yes.
because it's super.
There's some songs that are just massive.
Yeah, they just go-
massive,
they're-
and everybody's involved. Like the finale is huge.
Yeah, so the result of which is every time I tried to like explain, okay, so here's where the character is and this and that, I'd usually get this glazed eye, like, this is too much information. It's actually not helpful.
Tell me the notes. Tell me
Yeah,
the notes.
just
to
like,
hit.
yeah. Tell me how many clicks before I start singing.
Faster and louder, please.
Yeah. And even
Faster,
Troy
more
would give me
energy.
shit. Like I'd get the look of like, you're not actually helping right now. And so it made me think like effective. It makes you realize that sometimes really effective directing is to de-cloud their mind and just and but then also and that's why I was asking about Red Dead, and do you know if this would be the case there, that the only way that could work is essentially that whoever is directing those sessions, they have to really know what the fuck they're doing in order to guide him, and he has to be able to trust that
I don't know who does the VO directing it.
It just seems impossible to burden
houses?
him with having to know how all those pieces fit together, right? I mean, he couldn't have access to that information.
No.
Yeah, not. First of all, it's not even the VO direction, but it's also the PCAP direction, right? So
True.
You could be potentially talking about actors could have changed. It's all. I mean, I don't even know. I think about the amount of stuff that changed over. Hi, baby.
Hello.
That changed over 2.5 years. I mean, we really 5 years of production for Last of Us Part 2, and
does PCAP get messed up if you lose or gain weight? Because the way you walk changes. That's why I asked.
Yes,
So, your physicality changes.
It's more embarrassing in the recording with the lycra suits if you've put on a bit.
Everyone's got titties.
That's the title.
Everyone's got titties.
We've had a feet episode. Now we got titties. When I started doing The Last of Us, I was really, really thin, and I decided I was going to get in the gym and start working out, and started working on my fitness and my health, and I quit smoking and all that. And I asked the guy, because we were doing custom suits, and I said, "Hey man, I've been working out. I just want to make sure that my suit is okay. It's gonna make it. I'm not gonna He goes, bust out of it.
You're gonna halt.
I went, I mean, yeah. He goes, it's spandex, man. I think you're fine. Cut to
that's the dream.
No, you split those pants, right? You sat down.
Towards the end,
Yeah.
I went to point like this, and it went, and I was like,
That has to be the peak of masculinity. I feel like that's what men dream about.
That's like
Men
steroids.
dream about busting. Oh, okay. Alrighty then.
Oh, sorry, bro.
Men dream of busting out of
bust
suits
out your
and.
suit, bro, because I'm too fucking strong.
And
bro.
also, I picture saving women from castles. I think those are the two most masculine dreams you can
Ideally,
have.
both simultaneously, I think.
Yes. If they're one in the same dream, manhood.
See, I think of ripping a suit.
You get it. You get us, Alanah. You have absolutely
I
got
got the
you.
bottom of it. It's,
I to me, it goes to
male
the-
male ally.
It goes to the Chris Farley, Tommy Boy, fat guy in a little suit is where I think of splitting the suit. To me, as a statement of masculinity, implies this Conan physique. But there's a much easier way to achieve it. Is the point I'm driving at, that I don't know represents the masculine ideal.
You have to be you have to be very confident that you're hitting that problem from the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to.
Oh man.
But so wait, so then to the question though, how beholden is the only way that works in a Red Dead case, that the director or directors are just you just can only trust that they are guiding you as an actor? It seems unfair to ask otherwise, is why I asked.
I've never worked for Rockstar, so I can't speak to their process. I have no idea who did their direction. My guess would be that it was someone internal, but I could be wrong. The reality is that it's always trust. They are trusting it. I've talked about this before. It's a commerce of resources. If they give you a whole bunch of resources, what did you just run away with?
I had myself muted because he was playing with this sheep that's a squeaky toy. And so
we
he
want to
just
hear that.
squeaked
Way
on
more
his
than me
speaker
talking.
and then ran away with it, which means he's going to gut it. It means it is going to be torn apart. He's
right.
going to murder the squeaky sheep.
Kong toys are great because they're like...
He does love a Kong toy, but I worry that we give him so many that he's just going to get fat.
No, just the rubber ones. They don't have to have a treat in them. Just
Oh,
something...
no, there's one on the floor. It looks like a carrot. It's very
Kong
cute.
is the only thing that Canvas doesn't destroy inside of 3
Can I
minutes.
ask, on the subject of foodstuffs and
Deer antlers
what
too.
is that
That's
to
really
the side, Alanah? I've been wondering a couple of calls. Is that
It is a nugget, right?
Oh, my nugget?
It is a nugget.
Context,
I'm glad you
please. Can we have some context?
It's a Travis Scott McDonald's collaboration nugget that was bought for me as
Fortnite?
a Valentine's Day present.
Okay.
It's worth a lot of money, which is the most bizarre thing about it. Naturally bought partly as a joke, but it's a pillow that is a nugget, which I feel like really values my beautiful statues over here just much more highly when you have a nugget leaning.
I have a
on it,
follow-up
but
question.
That is the
the
better
placement.
answer.
Look,
It's a statement piece.
it's very difficult to figure out where the fuck to put that thing.
We've all been there. We've all
Not a
been
bed.
No, because it looks like even more ridiculous on your bed, and it's like a very hard fabric.
Right.
So it'd have to be one of those pillows that depressed women use, where they put them on the bed in the morning and then take them all off actually to sleep on at night. And I'm not trying to be about that life.
Wait,
until I
hold on
believe
a
it.
second.
Whoa,
Whoa.
pause.
But yeah, Mike,
Pause.
Beth, and
We
I
need
both
to-
got.
You heard what I said.
Excuse
You
me.
heard what
I
I
love
said.
my decorative pillows.
Yeah. I'm pulling out the notepad here. This is interesting.
I
Go
have
see a
5
therapist.
rows.
Speak to us about the
1, 2, 3.
depression.
Is it a long game
Four.
poly where
I think about it every goddamn morning. Every time I do that, I think about a log game poly. Where I'm going to have one of these mornings. I'm going to wake up and be like Michael Douglas and snap and just stab those things.
Exactly. Do you feel like you're undoing my point?
No.
Decorative pillows equal depression.
That's
No,
an
they
Don't
don't.
be that yet.
Here's the reason why for me.
Okay, so
There's a
depression's
whole
not great to joke about,
5-minute
but
bit on
to be
coupling
clear,
about this.
you're
Sorry, go
actually
on.
joking
There is-
about decorative pillows? I'll give you that out.
it's true, but it's also there was a study that linked an increase in the amount of pillows you have on your bed to depression. I believe it's
I
garbage.
don't doubt
but
that you could
it
draw
does
those
exist.
lines. But we've talked about this before. It's something small that I can control, right? So if I start my day and I make up my bed, there is an easy accomplishment. It was a task. It's a pattern, and I feel like I have started my day off in a productive way, and instantly it transforms the way that your bedroom looks. Because like that's my mom always told me is that you want to look like your room is clean, start with making your bed, and it will be the biggest improvement. It's the largest piece of furniture in there, hopefully. I will always make my bed, and so I do like that. Here's the really neurotic part. I will make my bed. Drives Pam crazy. I will make my bed right before I go to bed. Because
Does that imply that it
Get
was
that
not made?
feel of everything kind of laid in its place.
I don't like to lie in bed for a long time before I go to sleep.
Yes.
Sure as
And I
shit
bet
don't
you're
want
a,
to
you're a
eat
sheet
in
tucker
bed.
as well. You want like
No,
a tight
I'm not.
bed.
I'm
Oh,
not
you're
a sheet
not.
tucker. I'm not a sheet
I don't even
tucker.
put sheets on the bed. I dislike sheets so heavily that I just sleep under a blanket.
A mattress?
No. Just under a blanket. I don't sleep under a sheet. Sleep like under a duvet. I don't put a sheet.
I do the same thing. I want that to be kind of like the same thing. This is the weird.
I sleep between two mattresses like a sandwich. That's my approach.
I'm just
Makes me
imagining
feel safe.
all
I
of
don't
this,
know.
all of the
Little
comments
Mike sandwich.
that we're going to talk about. We've talked about titties.
Slice of
we could have
lettuce.
We could have spoken about the E3 things that are happening, but we said no.
What E3
We
things
will
are
not.
happening?
Well,
Is there E3
a
thing?
fair amount of stuff that's happened.
Well, Keely's thing
Capcom
happened.
like devastated me yesterday.
What did?
Capcom.
What happened?
Okay, so I like the start of it. I was like, all I want to see is Dragon's Dogma 2. It's all I want to see. I know I'm not going to see it, but it's all I want to see. And then they cut to Dragon's Dogma 10th anniversary, and they just say it's been 10 years since Dragon's Dogma. I was so fucking excited seeing the words Dragon's Dogma,
Why?
and then they were like,
Tell me
10-year
why.
anniversary.
I worked on that game. Why?
I love Dragon's Dogma. I don't know what. That's why.
It's got its own
it's-
series now too, right? They're doing an animated series. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think there's a Dragon's Dogma online that is only available overseas. I see Dragon's Dogma as oh, okay.
Did you
Welcome
kill
back.
it?
He's very excited. You killed the sheep, didn't you?
Okay, baby.
You gutted the sheep. Good
Okay,
boy.
good boy.
Good boy. Good boy. He barked at somebody yesterday. But my only concern with him was that he'd be a useless guard dog, and it's the first time that I think I've ever been with him, and I would have been noticeably uncomfortable, and I would have changed my body language. He barked at him. He pulled out the German Shepherd. I was like, good stuff. Guard dog confirmed.
Get it,
All right,
baby.
we're good. Yeah, the dude ran away. I was like, okay, great. Excellent job. No, Dragon's Dogma, I feel like it surprises me that more Souls players don't really enjoy it, because it is very difficult, but I think it's also just like the way that world creatively changes. I feel like it has a very compelling story outside of the romance mechanics. There's stuff that I want to talk about that I can't even talk about because it would be spoilers. Very big fan of Dragon's Dogma. Would love to see a second one. And really hoped for it, but there is a stream on the 16th, so maybe we'll see something. Could also see Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 coming maybe on the same day at the same time.
That's so crazy to think.
Yeah.
That's been.
But I
that
did want to
long.
ask about For Solis, Troy.
Yeah.
You kept saying that it was like a tight or fast
Tight thriller.
thriller.
Yeah. there's a lot
Does
of
that
stuff.
mean
I mean,
short? And also, I understand if you
tiger?
can't answer that.
So there was like Keely wanted to get is like we had this whole long call. It's like let's talk about what things we want to discuss on. So it's everyone gets up there, we know what we're talking about, and then you get 3 minutes, and it's not Keely's fault at all. It's just the nature of the program. It's kind of like we all just making sure is like, did I say the things that I thought I was going to say? And I said at one point for The Last of Us, I was like, it's because of the fan. That's it. Came out. I was like, because of the fan.
It's
the
you,
single
Steve.
person. 10 million copies.
I'm
the
happy.
fan.
I'm happy to
And
be
it's
that
Austin.
guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm an idiot. And so
It's nice to feel
Fort's-
personally thanked for the record.
Finally, right? Like I've
I know.
been buying Last of Us games every 5-6 years.
I have mortgaged-
all this
You
haven't even
time,
finished
finally
two, Mike.
got
Shut
to
up.
it.
I have
Say again.
mortgaged so many houses just to buy 10 million copies. You have no idea.
10 million copies.
The
Guys,
debt
they're
is
all
beyond.
there.
Austin, when we're interviewing Troy, let's let him speak. That upset people
Yeah.
in the comments last
Fair
time.
enough,
Let's-
fair
Come on,
enough.
guys. Let's not talk over Austin.
He's a guest on the show, Austin. We need to show respect.
I cede. I yield the floor.
This was I think I said this. I hope I don't know.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
There was a story that one of my first thing that I did was a pilot that didn't get picked up. This was, I feel like, the first time that we started seeing the effects of COVID impacting the industry. Mm-hmm. And there were two projects that started right at the very beginning of COVID, and one of them was Medium. And the other one was Fort Solis. And so, like, I had my meeting with those guys at DICE, and then Fort Solis was like right after, where he's like, "Hey, I wanted to see you at DICE, but couldn't, and I have this opportunity for you. To see if you'd be down for it." And the thing that got me on it was him saying, "He was like, we're going to be very, very focused on this. We're going to have the fidelity of a AAA title, but we just want to make sure that we're really focused on our resources and where we put that." Because I think a lot of times the tendency is to be like, we have to compete with AAA. And they understood it's like UE5 is giving us a lot of resources that was not previously available to a lot of developers. So what does it mainly give us? Well, it mainly gives us graphics and physics. And then our core mechanics we keep very simple. And we allow us to be able to build these great big environments, and a lot of them, so that people can explore those, but then keep the gameplay very, very focused. And I think it's going to end up being, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they're talking probably 5 to 6 hours is probably where it's going
Also
to be.
very focused.
I love that. That's
Right?
why I asked.
I live
It's
for
like,
that kind
yes.
of game.
Yeah. Especially as a horror experience.
I would say, because horror, and I said Dead Space just because of, and the problem is, especially after looking at Callisto Protocol, that feels like Dead Space, where you're fighting these fucking creepy things. The thing that I was wanting to evoke, and when James Tinsdale, the studio head, and I were talking about Dead Space, is the feeling you had playing Dead Space, where you just would be going down a hall.
Unease?
I mean, nothing happening. You're just in the space. But as you explore, there's just this constant reminder through sound effects, through lighting, just through feel, that there is something fucked up that's you're in the midst of. And then Moon was such a great, your friend Duncan Jones, man, just one of the most concise, simple movies.
There were a few that you could see Duncan's influence across the whole.
100%.
Like, because there was the new one from the why am I forgetting this? Strategy game set in the cold base building. They just announced like a clone space station game.
Which one?
Why am I forgetting this? This
Yes,
is
I know.
embarrassing.
I don't remember the name of the game either. We got a few strategy games actually.
We got. I was gonna ask, like, why do we think sci-fi horror has clicked this? Because it was noticeable in the key thing that there were like
Because everybody's-
6 in a row.
I feel like it's a COVID thing.
Do you think
then
it's
you'd
just
think
like
that they have
we're
to
our
start before
souls?
then.
That's where we are right now. Or?
Well, like, COVID is sci-fi horror. Like, in theory, that's how it was when it started out. It's sci-fi horror, and so I think it just blew up to be that way.
Interesting.
Plus, it's been a while since the last sci-fi horror, like since the last Dead Space.
The interesting theory I've heard is that, like, this is like if you were just starting your career when Dead Space came out and you were like, that's awesome, I want to make that. You've had enough time to get into a creative leadership role. That's the best theory I've heard
absolutely
from a mate. It's
true,
like,
man.
we're seeing those people who were just like right at the start of their careers, blown away by Dead Space, and then we're like, that's the one I'll make if I get a chance. And those people are starting to get into leadership roles where they can kind of push that through. That's the best theory I've heard.
There's always that, like, stratigraphy to things happening.
Good
where
word.
it feels
Good
like
word.
Looking it up.
it's sort of like the more crude analogy is like when you bang your fingernail and then over a month that like black mark is making its way to the front of the nail. Like there's always this kind of this slow time lag. Like I see it with music right now where a lot of the tastemakers in the music world are they grew up in the 80s on the kind of heyday, the first heyday of the world of analog synths. So 90s and early 2000s, that stuff was all relegated to being super dated and out of fashion. But now that the maturity has been reached by the people who were growing up then, you see the Stranger Things of the world going, no, we're just going to unapologetically do this. And so it seems like you can always kind of guess. I remember actually once, one of the best advice I ever got from a composer was, he said, when you're starting a new project with a new director, look up what was the biggest like songs on the radio when they were like 15.
What are yours then, Austin?
Well, as someone who did not in any way listen to the radio when I was 15, my answer
I'm also
is,
not a good example for that question either, as made evident by the T-shirt that I'm wearing right now. So.
S Club 7, baby.
If there's anything that I've learned since starting to make a video game full time, it's that I for sure want to make a horror game. There are so many instances where I'm like, and what if it was creepy? Like I keep doing it all the time. And I think it's Majora's Mask. I think it's the time that I played Majora's Mask because it's not completely horror, but I was so unsettled by it and still was in love with it when I was a kid. And I feel like it like informed me being like, oh, but spooky moon crash on planet.
I think it's an important thing to like get out of your system as well, like to an extent. Like Volume was like basically like I was a big Metal Gear Solid nerd as a kid, and that was my game where I just made Metal Gear Solid VR missions basically, and I had a lovely time, and it was well enough received, and I got to go on to the next thing. I kind of needed to make that game so I could make other games after it. So I think it's an essential, I think it's a stepping stone for a lot of people when you find yourself in that creative leadership role where you can like decide on the project you want to make at that point. Doing the thing you've been thinking of since you were 12, that's the wish fulfillment. By the way, Frostpunk was the strategy game I was thinking of, and The Altars is the new one that is very Duncan Jones. It's basically Moon, the strategy game, which is brilliant. Yeah.
Can I name drop just real quick? Callback?
Sure. Go for it.
Because it's pursuant to your point. David Fincher has positioned himself with.
Have you met David Fincher?
Oh, Dave?
Oh, you know David Fincher?
Finchy, yeah.
You?
Finch.
You know David
I
Fincher?
call him Finchy.
He was talking about how, he's obviously leveraged himself well with Netflix specifically. And they were like, what do you want to make? And he goes, well, I've got this story about Mankiewicz who, wrote Citizen Kane and the story of him. And he goes, but I want to do it black and white. I want to record the sound in mono. And normally, anybody else who would have had that pitch, they'd laugh. They're like, sure, whatever you want to do, man. I don't care. Well, so all you got to do is put your name on the marquee, and it'll get nominated for Oscars. So I really agree with that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with blatantly saying, this is my love for this, and I want to make this. And so, and that goes for music as well for me. It's like I've always wanted I was influenced by these albums, and I like some of the greatest albums that I listened to or growing up specifically were never recorded in a studio. So when it came time for me to do an album, I was like, I don't want to go to a traditional studio. I want to do what they did, which was grab a shitload of gear and go to some location. And like Depeche Mode did this, Radiohead did this, the Beatles did this. And it's like, let's go somewhere else and record this thing and turn this thing into a studio and live there and eat there and breathe there and create there.
That was when you went to Big Bear?
Yeah. And the second time we went up to
I thought
Mount
that was a joke.
Tamalpais.
You did it in Big Bear?
Did it in Big Bear. And
That's super cool.
We pulled up with all of this gear, and the guy that was the engineer goes, did anybody check the power in this place? And we went, uh-oh. We don't know if we have enough power. And he literally spent 2 days hooking everything up, and on the last day, he goes, this is the last patch cable. I was like, way to go. He goes, no. Literally after this, I don't have any more. Like, we can't plug anything else in. I have brought just enough cables.
Wow.
But we did that for 4 days, and the second time we did it for 2 weeks. And it's just, I highly recommend that for anybody. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying.
No, I think
like,
imitation is an
renting out?
absolutely
What
valid
kind of-
stage in the creative growth.
Yeah.
Like, for
Or
sure.
emulation,
Were
at
those
least, right?
Emulation,
Airbnbs? What were you? Where were you doing these things?
One was an Airbnb, and the other one is a studio that is called Panorama Studios, and it's on basically up by Mount Tamalpais in the Bay Area. And it is Band of Horses did their last couple records there. My Morning Jacket did the last couple of records there, and
So it's a studio, but it has accommodations.
Yeah, so you
cool.
and some people just rent out the house because you have these beautiful panoramic views of the mountains and the ocean, and they also have on the ground floor is the state-of-the-art studio with the best analog gear you could possibly imagine. And so, but it was like $500 a day. It was nothing in a studio to rent. It's typically in Los Angeles. Like Capitol is what, $2,500 a day. So it was stupid. Without crew.
Damn.
So it was incredibly attainable to be able to do.
Is that just someone's pet project that they're not like?
The guy that used to be the head editor of Tape Op magazine, which would review all this gear, bought this place and turned it into a studio. And specifically in San Francisco, there was one big producer, I can't remember who it was, who moved in and said, "Here's my rates for the day," because he wanted to make great studios available to any musician. And so it cut the rates. It's like, why would I go to anyone else when I could go to his studio and get a better rate? And so San Francisco is a great place to go to record music.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Striper. I don't know what to tell you.
I have a million questions that I could ask, but I want to instead ask, did anyone catch up on any of the news over the last week? Is there anything anybody has to, any input? Anything exciting?
The moment we hit record, it came across my Twitter feed that the Joker sequel of Todd Phillips will have Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn.
And it is a musical?
And
it's a musical.
And it's a musical, yeah.
Potentially.
Fascinating.
I think that might be speculative.
Because she's in it, maybe?
That feels like a joke someone made in a...
I mean, Hollywood Reporter is saying, sources say it's a musical. Not that we should put much stock in that, but
for all we know, is it Todd Phillips directed the first one? For all we know, that's his thing he's been dreaming of doing all this time, and Joker wrote in the check.
Way to keep it on the rails, Mike Bithell.
Thank you very much. But that's a good explanation, right? If that guy's grew up watching Singing in the Rain every Saturday, and it's like, one day I'll have enough cachet to do a big budget.
But first they must make The Hangover 1, 2, and then the Joker.
Yeah, that's the roadmap.
I don't understand.
Because there's tiers. It's worth saying. If you're
what
you got it. No, you got it. You nailed it.
The whole strategy.
This is what Rahul had said to me about Mike Flanagan, where he was like. Basically, he was biding his time until he could make Midnight Mass, because that was like
there are tiers. There are tiers. It's when the whole dream project.
Our tiers.
Yes. Midnight Mass shed many.
There are tiers of dreams. There are tiers of there is the thing you I've had this recently, and I have to keep super vague, but Volume was a game I really wanted to make, the kind of the stealth thing. And then I wanted to... There are other things I want to do that are more expensive and stupider. And I'm now starting to get to a point where I can start to talk people into maybe letting me do that. So it's like...
What if I don't know what mine are? I know that Dream 1 was work at IGN. Dream 2 was work full-time on a AAA game. Now what do I do?
What was our false interpretation of Mike's accent again?
Oscar Water.
Oscar Water.
It's a good book. You love that book though, Troy, right? That's a very you book. Do you love that book?
I haven't even started it yet.
Oh, okay. You're gonna love that book.
Yeah.
I can't bounce between books. Well, if I do, it's got to be.
Didn't you say you were reading 5 last week?
Yeah, it started getting crazy because I was reading
I can't do that at all.
I was doing
Alan
Watts and Stoicism, and it was just I was getting confused. Go ahead.
Well, Mike, it seems like you watch the conferences.
Wait. Well, actually, Alanah, you asked a provocative question though. That when you said something like, how do I?
I don't have a dream.
You don't have a dream.
You don't have a dream?
No. No,
come on. You said you're living the dream.
You literally just said you wanted to direct a horror game.
Make a horror game, yeah. But it's still the bigger dream is write on a AAA game full time, and that's happening.
Okay.
So then I'm
but what do you want to write? What you said Majora's Mask was like.
I don't care, and maybe that's just the point that I'm at, is that I don't care what I write at all. What I care about is writing with people who teach me to be a better writer. So I don't give a fuck when I write.
That's a great goal.
It also
I don't care at all. I care about working with experienced knowledgeable people that I will learn from. I don't care about if anytime anyone's ever like, what's your dream video game? If you could direct, I'd be like, I would say no. And instead I would pick a bunch of people that are awesome to work with and I would have them teach me how to do something like that.
I comes in waves though, like I think as well, especially like as you move through your career and maybe, you know, you're in this job, maybe you move into another job, like where as you continue on through your career, you're gonna start having touchstones where you're like, you're gonna develop new dreams based on your experience. You're gonna go, oh, I really like that thing about that job. I'd love to do more of that. Or I hated that thing about that job. I need to like move away.
Yeah, there are definitely already things that I'm like, oh, I really like this particular aspect of this and would like to do more of it. But I don't feel like they surpass the dream of work full time on writing a AAA game.
I think it's an and, not an or. Because for me, it's like when I start seeing other people make mistakes that I've seen other people make or myself make before, and knowing the lessons that were learned from that experience, to go, just real quick, that will shock you. Don't touch that. It's like, oh. And next thing you know, you find yourself in a position going, oh, I don't know, I'm not in charge or anything. I just know that I've learned from these people that this is a better way to do this, but maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. I don't think it's anybody that says is like, I just want to direct. I can't wait to direct because this fucking guy, she's terrible. I'm like, you are not ready to direct.
If somebody asked me to direct, I'd be like, why on earth would you ask me to do that? I don't fucking know what's happening. God, no.
I would encourage you, Alanah, if you're again as someone who's kind of gone through that journey, like if someone does ever offer you an opportunity like that, you absolutely should take it, because
absolutely should take it and fail miserably.
100%.
No, but I would fail a large amount of people.
Then do it. Like genuinely, like so after Thomas.
Why would I want to screw people over? No, I would be you hire someone who's experienced.
Go. Preach it.
Okay, so after Thomas was alone, so there are in your career you will have cachet. It's weird how we're coalescing around this specific theme of like career.
You're
cachet.
welcome for shining a light on Alana's question.
There will be moments where you have more and less shine on you, and when you have the shine on you, so when people are like interested or excited, they will give you these opportunities. Definitely, when Thomas was alone blew up, I definitely turned down stuff with exactly the mindset you're saying, like, I'm not ready for that, I'm not good enough for that. And I look back now and I'm like, I'd have muddled through, I'd have learned some shit, I'd have treated...
So I definitely did that when I started out in journalism, where I didn't apply for things because I had decided that I didn't have enough experience. But I realized that all the other motherfuckers weren't thinking that way.
100%.
And thus I was just cheating myself out of more professional experience. But if someone were to offer me a directing role, I would be like, God, no, I will just fuck up all these other people's lives.
In the situation when they're making that offer to you, you'll have done something they will have more experience.
I suspect I will end up directing, but I suspect it would be film and TV rather than
if somebody says, great job, or some people used to, in a band or whatever, come up and or anything that I did, they'd be like, "Oh my God, that was so great!" And there was this feeling in me that I wanted to go, "Oh no," and downplaying, "Oh no, you have no idea. It was such the sound was terrible, and I didn't think I was great at all." Huh?
I'm not trying to be humble.
I hear you, but what
you're
I'm saying is
accurately appraising your skill set, which is totally reasonable. I'm saying maybe be a bit more stupid about it.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful way to say it. Tacitly, what you're saying, if someone says, "Hey, I believe I'm in a first of all, I'm in a position to be able to give you this opportunity." Number two,
if Sony offered me a promotion, I would be like, "No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do any of that."
Frankly, the 10 not so good blokes stood next to you will not say no to that job, but then you'll be working for those blokes. So
what would be the point in turning down a promotion? I get the idea of a lateral shift.
I get where she's coming from because I've 100%
because
done
I
that.
feel like I'm so benefited by the position that I'm in right now that it's nuts that they pay me. Like, I just get to work with super talented people who I learn from constantly, almost like a student. Sometimes my notes are about things that they've said that are insightful.
Yeah, would you stop learning?
If they put me in a position of leadership, I'd be like...
You'll always have people to learn from. That means that you can only learn in a subservient position.
The great thing about leadership is you have a bunch of people who can teach you and they have to tell you the answer to the question, which is...
But if somebody gives you an opportunity...
I think I maybe have also been burned by bad leadership in video games.
Then be good leadership.
They don't. It's true.
Then demonstrate good leadership. If you've had bad leadership,
pull down the
good.
Energy, Troy, a little bit. You're a little.
I'm so passionate about this.
It's just late at night for Mike, and he's trying to wind down. You're good.
Hey, man. I've already had a glass of wine.
Also, you've got to remember as well, me and Alanah didn't grow up in America, so like our framework for kind of the American dream.
Yeah,
We were
I
brought
is a
up-
honestly-
wholly American
I know
thing. I
people
totally
never
get that.
like hearing it, but I also very much suspect being a woman plays into it
For sure.
because I think that women are less inclined to believe in their abilities if they aren't proven. Like, case in point, everybody telling me I don't deserve my job every day. I don't think any junior writer who's a man has had the experience I've
We
had.
see it every
So
day in the
probably
interview
just plays into
process.
it.
I get it all the
like
time.
we just hired a bunch of people, and I've had
You?
to on interviews talk women into looking for a job with us. 100%. Like it's.
By the
it
way,
is
I'm
a
not saying that
cultural
I'm in the
thing
same
that
position.
100% exists.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're all right. I talked over you first.
I don't think that I am equating myself with the plight of a woman who's experienced what you're talking about. However, I'm simply pointing out the fact that I get told on a daily basis that I do not deserve the opportunities that have been given to me, that I'm talentless, that I'm tired, that
reading
I'm
my text.
overused.
I was beat me to it, Mike.
And they're all from Mike.
I knew I did. I knew it was one. It was going to be one of us. I'm glad it was me.
Alanah, here's why I want you. It's that classic thing of like, but I can't do this and I shouldn't do this. You should have to go. And that's exactly why it has to go to you.
Fuck people over.
Well, here's the thing though.
I don't think you inherently would fuck people over. To
Exactly.
Be fair. I
It's
think it's
who is giving you the opportunity. And if someone says, I'm in a position, I'm going to give you an opportunity, you don't have to. I would hope that for myself, I would trust that person. I'm gonna let's say Neil. Neil says to me, is like, hey man, I want you to direct something. My relationship with him warrants the trust for me to go, if you think I can do this, then your opinion is more important than my screaming
Right.
voices at me. And secondly, there's no way you're going to put yourself in a position, you're going to give me enough rope to hang myself. And when I do, you're going to pull me back, you're going to dust me off, and you're going to put me back out there, and I'm going to learn. So you're not going, no one who's going to give you a good opportunity is going to allow, there's going to be fail safes in place. Now, a shitty person can give you a shitty opportunity, and you're right. You could, I suppose, fuck somebody over. But that's you simply saying, I just want to learn is the best position for you to come from.
And to be clear, like, I think it's a reasonably articulated point Alana's making of like, if you are in leadership, by definition, you are going to occasionally fuck up. So you are, by
Well, that's my thing
definition,
is,
going
if I
to
don't
have
have
a
any
negative
project
impact.
management skills, which
Yeah.
I do not have, I should not be managing a project.
You
I don't
can't
want
learn
to
how to
fuck
drive a
people
car until you
over.
get
You should
behind
get
the wheel.
us three onto a fucking call every week. You have project management
There is
skills.
that.
Also,
To be clear,
Barely.
Also,
you
I-
have some
Barely.
project management skills.
I feel like there's also a big difference, just in practical terms, for a game director in project management versus creative direction. I feel like those are actually
Oh,
not
well, that's an episode.
like, because I feel like you're going
Hire well.
I don't know how to kind of make sure all the nuts and bolts are in the right place.
And I guess producers can do
Which
that.
I was going to say, that doesn't actually sound
both.
like.
You need both. You do need both.
Producers.
You also
Yeah, we
need a
have very good
pragmatic
producers.
understanding of that stuff. But to be
I'm
honest,
not
I think
dismissing that. I just think that's a thing that's done in tandem with people who like. This is where the people that are responsible for those nuts and bolts are going to be the partners in ensuring that all that is in place, and that the creative vision that helps drive it all is would seemingly necessarily be the top priority of one's.
But what I'm saying is I think we should be careful not to be dismissive of Alana's kind of perspective that
Not being dismissive at all.
No, sorry, apologies, not that. I don't mean that. There is it's something that I think people massively underestimate until they are leading. Like, God, how many people report to me now? It's like 15 odd, which is still small by
That's
industry standards, but
Scary.
really,
That's
pretty scary.
15 people's careers, salaries, lives.
It's
everything.
a lot of weight on your shoulders, and if
Yeah.
you're someone who is compassionate and cares about the people who work for you, which you should be in that job, but often that's not the case.
Look, I've managed
Like,
people before, but
yeah.
it was in journalism, which I know like the back of my hand at this point.
Exactly. So it's a lot.
If somebody were to offer me a position directing a video game, I think the point is there's no universe in which that happens now.
Exactly.
And at the point where maybe that would happen, then yes, maybe I would be experienced.
And it might be a year earlier than you think, but hopefully, yeah, as Troy said, the person doing the offering, you will trust enough to go for it and believe in their view of you.
Yeah, it's true, and that's probably a thing that I have been very bad at in the past, where I've been like, but I'm not ready. And like you said, there were a lot of dudes who had less experience who were ready.
That's every shit manager you ever had. They just said yes to that question when they couldn't do it.
I have two thoughts, because one was basically that exact thing you just ended with, where I talked to a lot of young composers. Literally earlier today was, reading on Discord somebody said they shared some of their music and they said, this is where I feel like I'm at, but it was knowingly emulating another composer. And they said, I don't feel like I'm ready to experiment and make my own thing yet. And I remember thinking, I asked them, and then I haven't had a chance to read their response because I've been busy since I typed this. But my question was, what would be the thing that then catalyzes you feeling ready? Because the universe is never going to show up with a certificate that says you are now ready to grow as an artist. Like, that must be self-propelled. And so I often find people who are like, their heart is in the right place of what you're just saying. I don't want to put myself in a position to, make a bad game or to screw over people who would be working for me or whatever. But at the same time, from my experience, nothing will ever actually validate that you are now ready. That was thought number one.
It's true. When are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah, like
you're ready when you need to be.
And yeah, you're ready. Exactly. You're always you will never feel qualified until the opportunity lands. You sign the thing. You shit a brick. And then you start making phone calls to the people that can help you.
Right. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah, like I remember one of my professors. It was a sort of a mentor, composer, Chris Young, who did like a few Sam Raimi films, Drag Me to Hell, Spider-Man 3. He did the original like Hellraiser, and done a lot. It's done a zillion movies, including a lot of horror films. They did The Grudge, and anyway, Chris, wonderful, lovely guy, and he always would say to his students, like, if you land a job that you feel like you're not ready for, take the job, do whatever it takes to convince them you are ready, and then as soon as you get off the phone, then call me and we can step through it and figure out how I can help you. And it was
to bring it back again, Duncan, our mate of the show, Duncan, his dad, David Bowie, has got the whole quote of what's his name? That in order to swim, you have to walk out further than your feet touch the ground, right?
Yeah.
In order to execute on something,
the water's just
there. That's when you're pushing it
how
enough.
I do things. I always do things very slowly and like grab it. Like when I was trying to make sure that I had experience to write a video game. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I was doing game jams under a different name. So people didn't know it was me because I didn't want to have any pressure on it whatsoever. Exactly. Ruined his reputation.
You really
he just doesn't know it yet.
my career with that show. I appreciate it.
So I did a ton of them just to like kind of get like some insight to production experience. And then otherwise I was asking studios that I knew if I could sit in on their writers' rooms, and 4 of them let me, which was awesome. And then was doing a little bit of contract work for one game that I'll eventually be able to announce that people know. That's cool. But I can't talk about it yet. But it was very, 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 very slow. Like, that was probably 3 years of just, like, a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a tiny bit more. But I had also, like, finished screenplays, and I was able to submit those to the studio.
I don't think there's any universal standard of how fast one ought to go. I'm simply I have no objection or commentary on anything you just said, other than that from the most zoomed out perspective, nothing will ever tell us we're ready. The other little thing I wanted to throw in there that you made me think of with what you were saying, Troy, in terms of like the different director types, was you gave me a flashback to when I was a student scoring a lot of student games, and you get these really exaggerated versions of director personalities when they're all students because everybody's neurotic and self-conscious and super afraid and but also wildly arrogant with unearned hubris. Like
I love that about students. I admire that so much about students.
It's the worst. I remember this one. I did a lot of student films, like well over 100, and this one director I'll never forget. They all, first off, the good directors made bad films. The bad directors made bad films. Like, student films are just, as a general rule, not good. Because you're learning. That's the point.
What they're doing.
Yeah, like the goal is to screw up in a low stakes environment. It was the same. I wrote, I'm sure, endless amounts of crap music for them as well. But I remember in particular, this director, he was such an arrogant prick. And he was like, he kept going, it's really important. He was interviewing composers for his 4-minute movie. And he goes, it's very important to me that you bring everything that you've got to this project, because this is my entry into the business. Like, this, people will notice. And it was such this.
Please serve my needs.
Oh, and it was also like, don't be the guy that fucks
That's what leadership
this.
is, Troy. That's how you
That was the
how
thing.
You rally the troops by self-interest.
He never asked me, like, I get that he's afraid that he's going to bring someone on that now he's dependent on, and then the thing turns out badly and it was beyond his control. I think that the most charitable read is that was a twisted, distorted manifestation of that kind of neurotic fear, which is understandable.
It's also not his entry into the industry. That's not how it works.
Well, and God knows.
not.
Well, exactly. I was like, the best director who's not ready for this leadership role, the first thing would have been, and I've heard this, and most of the best directors that I've worked with over the years, this is how the conversation often starts. I don't know anything about music, so how do we get on the same page? What can I offer you that will let you communicate, and vice versa? And it's always questions, and it's always like, how can I arm you with how to make this best? How do you work best? Do you want a lot of feedback? Do you want to waylay? They're just loaded with questions and ready to kind of adapt. And usually I'm like neoing
that was
back
our
at
first
them.
conversation was like that. I think that's not that I'm equating myself to the best directors, but I think that was
as a best director, Mike Bickle.
As best director. I just realized why I did
also
that, but I
asked questions.
think it was what we said. Yeah.
It makes sense. I met Danny Elfman last week.
I'm sorry, what?
Buried
I
the
met Danny
lead.
Elfman.
Was he wearing a shirt? Did you see his abs in this process?
He was wearing a shirt.
Oh, it's a shame.
He's very sweet. Very, very sweet. Very,
He was probably
like,
in a very good
passionate,
mood because
sweet.
he was at his daughter's red carpet. So it was
It's
like
true.
a very special occasion.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he basically just kept thanking Rahul. He just was like, thank you so much for having her back. Thank you so much for doing this. It was just so endearing. He was so fucking sweet. But I asked Molly Elfman, Danny's daughter, about the film's called Next Exit, just premiered at Tribeca. And it's her first short film. And I just asked her, I was like, I think that I want to slowly do more directing. And it would be short films and whatever with people that I like. And I was like, what's the biggest piece of advice that you have? And she like, one of the things that she said was, don't be afraid to fire people, which I was like, that's very interesting advice. She was like, if anybody is challenging you in a way or anyone else in a way that isn't like creating a good team, you can put so much work into trying to resolve conflicts that it would have been faster for you to just hire someone else. It's like, I never would have thought of that because I'm absolutely a resolution person. I'd be like, let's work through this because I see it as a failure if I would need to fire someone.
It's not a good match.
Yeah, you could just fucking fire someone. I was like, it's a very good piece of advice. The
That's
other
good
one
advice.
was
That's good advice.
hire people who are, like, if you can, as equally passionate about creation as what you are. Like, that's a difficult thing to do, but like, it's not necessarily hire people who desperately need the job, and you can usually tell, like, hire people who care about what you're making and take the time to do that slowly before you make something.
I would add on to that,
Also a good piece of advice.
hire people that are smarter, more experienced,
Yeah.
more passionate than you. As the director, I want to be, you can't lead from behind. And typically fear has always put me in a place of behind. I'm hiding behind other people are waiting. But you need to, as a director, I need to be out in front and being like, hey, if this fails, it's great. But typically nobody knows if you made a mistake until you go, I just made a mistake. Just keep shooting. Just keep shooting. It's like, all right, that works. Let me try this again. It's always when people go, whenever I've seen a director dig their heels into a bad choice because they're too afraid to admit that they made a mistake or to defend the mistake that they just made, that's when it's like, you just showed your ass a little bit. I need to jump onto my next thing. I was over here getting my next session.
I gotta go get
prepped
my
up.
head stitched back.
Get your head
together.
stitched
So,
together.
As a point of order,
That's
that
great.
film of
Yeah.
Molly's is a feature, not a short.
Oh yes, it is. But she had experience mostly
I
making
see, I
shorts.
see.
It's her debut feature. Yeah. So I think she made like over 100 shorts. I think I'm not sure if that's true or I misheard or
Damn.
whatever. But she was wonderful and
Nearly along.
yeah, that's a whole lot.
Bottom
I have
line,
to go get my head
Alanah,
stitched back up. Other people have to work. I'm gonna take any director roles any of you throw at me.
we believe
I'm
you.
ready.
I
In the
got
comments,
it.
if you've got a
I'm
director
ready.
role for Alanah, please let us know in the comments. Like
Maybe
and
one day. I
subscribe.
do think that's where I'll end up. I feel like I go narrative design first, and then I maybe direct stuff one day. But I just want to say, if anyone's ever making Silent Hill, just hit me up.
I feel like 5 people are making Silent Hill at any
There's
given
5
moment.
people that are making
I said,
Silent Hill right
there's
now.
so many Silent Hills.
Just let me know if you need some writing.
You have great like narrative direction and design like mentors, right? That you kind of get feedback from and stuff.
Yeah, I
I have Oscar water.
I almost feel like my job is I'm at university and I should be paying them. It's nuts.
Good.
So often I'm like, why am I getting paid for all of this information you keep giving me? I will take notes on the things that they say that I'm learning from. and not just the things I need to about the game. It's there.
great.
Yeah, the team I work with is just so world class. It's such a privilege to get to work through. It's
Keep
incredible.
that. Don't lose it.
And they're all wonderful, and like I think I've said this on the show before, sometimes I'll get an email with some terminology I don't understand, that's some game dev shit, and I will ask, be like, I know you're busy, what does this mean? And I've never had anybody do anything other than be like, awesome that you asked. Here's what this thing is. Huge
People love
email
to
reply
teach.
with a ton of enthusiasm. Like it's so cool to get to work with people who are like just such absolute experts at what they do and just have access to all of them. It's like 600 of them. It's incredible. Anyway, this is Play, Watch, Listen. I'm Alanah, Pearce. I'm a video game writer. That's Austin Winter. He's a video game composer. That's Mike Bithell. He's a video game director. Also, I'm a video game director. That's Troy Baker. He's a video
In
game
waiting.
actor.
Yeah.
We will see you next week.
Bye.